Hey guys, welcome back. So we're about to hook our first wire up. So here's what we did. We printed out, we made this in Excel. So you can see here, like here's number one. Switch one has a 20 gauge wire, and then it shows as you go from like the fuses to the switch panel down to the terminal block, it shows you what size you need to use. So it makes it easy. We got this for the whole panel going across. So that's convenient. And then of course our switches are numbered because they go 1 through 20 this way, even though this goes that way. I could have mirror imaged it, maybe I'll do that, but I'm fine. I like to read left to right, and it's easy enough to look at this number and then look at that number. So that's not a problem. Let me show you what we're doing. So okay, let me show you this way. So we organized, here's all the terminals we purchased. These are 20 gauge or 16s, that's 1210, 8, and 2 gauge. So we got these organized, and they're in order from like biggest to smallest, you know. And here's our first wire, sort of. So we've already done this a few times. And what I'm doing, and I'm not done yet, I'm trying to prove that I have a good method of crimping. So let me show you what this looks like. It ain't perfect, but it's actually pretty good. Let's see if I can get a zoom in shot of this. So here you can see it's crimped around the insulation. So it actually ties to the jacket, and then here's the part where it crimps the wire itself. It actually looks pretty nice. I'm not saying that's perfect. I don't have like perfect tools, but this looks pretty nice. Like compared to what I normally do, this looks fantastic. But the question is it fantastic? Is this actually a good crimp? How would we know? Well, I'm going to test it. So what I'm fixing to do is I'm going to go grab a scale and rig this up in a vise or something and pull on it and see how much force it takes to break this. Because it looks good, but I want to make sure it actually is good. Once we're comfortable with our process of stripping wire without nicking them and crimping them to where they're solid, then we got to heat shrink. And once you heat shrink, you can't see any of this. So it's important to get this right now before we jump into heat shrink, because it'll look great when it's heat shrinked, but I need to make sure that this is solid before we're putting shrink on it. All right, let's grab our scale, rig up something, and let's find out how strong these really are. Alright, so here's our setup. We got clamped up in the vise, we got a couple of zip ties right here, and here's our scale. Let's hope this works. I'm just going to pull, and we'll have to see what the number is when it breaks. Don't know how this is going to go. Kind of hard to film, but let's see what happens. Alright, turn this on. Where's that? There it goes. That kind of shows up better. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to where it films properly. Okay, it broke. I'm gonna have to pause and see when it broke. Okay, so I'm showing 34 pounds is where this failed. Oh, here we go. Let's check it out. So here's the wire. It's actually still there. It didn't break the wire. Here's the crimp. Let's turn some light on. Maybe this will help. So this is what happened. So it basically just slipped out of the crimp. I can't believe I've never had a failure look like this before. Not sure what it means, but the wire looks fine. The crimp looks fine. It just slipped out. But to be fair, this is a 22 gauge wire, and it slipped out at whatever, 34.66 pounds. So I'm going to call that a pass, because I think I was lifting the vise off the bench. I have it clamped, but anyway, that's pretty good. That one held. So interesting. Well, I guess 34 pounds is probably a pass. Might see if I can grab this with, no, that's not going to work on a clamp. Yeah, I think we're going to call that good. 34 pounds. I'm going to go double check. I think the standard is like 20 pounds. So I think we're good, but I'm going to go double check. Alright guys, so we just looked it up. We found the SAE, so Society of Automotive Engineers, found their standards for 22 gauge crimp onto copper wire. The standard is 15 pounds, and we pulled like 34, so we're way above the standard. We're good to go. So at least for the 22 gauge wires, we know we've got a good system, so we're gonna keep on trucking. And now I got to get the build this wire again because we destroyed it, but that's okay. So we're going to build it again, heat shrink it, and then install our very first wire. Okay, so those of you that have done wiring, you know exactly what I'm showing you. This is how you successfully install heat shrink on one end of a wire after crimping the second end. So, whoops, we get to make this wire a third time. So, to make something of it, I guess I'll come up with some kind of test for this heat shrink, see if I can pull it off, slide it off. Seems okay. I wish the size was a little smaller, but I think this is the smallest one they had. But it works, it shrinks down. You can see, it's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna come off, but we're gonna see if this is easily removed or not. It's not completely tight to the wire. You can see there's a little bit of a gap there. I wish that was tight, but it's tight up here, so I don't think it can go anywhere. So it's still functional. Anyway, we're gonna test that and then, you know, do this for the third time. Maybe this time we'll put heat shrink on both ends. Who knows? All right, round 3. We now have a wire with ring terminals and heat shrink on both ends. So, yay. All right, let's test fit this. All right, check it out. We got our first wire hooked up. Looks pretty good. I don't know. Not super exciting, but it's just a wire. But this has those ring terminals like we talked about, so I love that factor because as long as these are torqued, even if they came slightly loose, they won't slide out or vibrate loose or fall out like flat ones do. So definitely like that. Anyway, one down, a lot to go. This one took about an hour. Granted, that's with all the testing and crimping and testing heat shrink, which, oh yeah, we tested the heat shrink. We were able to slide that piece of heat shrink off. Here it is. We did manage to do it. Jesus Christ, that was difficult. It's never going to happen by accident, that's for sure. So, anyway, that's good to go. One down, several more to go. Alright guys, well, we worked hard and we got 4 wires installed. So at this rate, it'll be 3 years from now before the car's done. So we got to kick it up a little. So we ran into a couple things. We'll get to the diagram in a second. Just kind of unlucky, but I accidentally got a terminal size I didn't order in one of these. So one of them turned out like this one. That hole is too small, so the damn bolt didn't fit. So, whoops. Not my fault. Didn't even buy that size. They just got it mixed up. I have screwed up so many of these things forgetting to heat shrink. I'm doing better now, but I'll tell you what, that's the hardest part of doing electrical is remembering to put the heat shrink. And let's see. So we did find a problem with our diagram. Man, this crap is hard, or for me it's hard. So let me explain the problem real quick, because this is practical. It'll make sense. So here's the big battery wire goes to your fuse block. You go through your fuses and power comes out. This all makes sense. This guy's rated for 80 amps, 80. So, and it'll probably go a little higher, but you know, come on, it's rated for 80. So probably shouldn't go much over that for safety. Now we got this one, and this one. So I mean, 80 is 160, and then this is probably 40. So we're looking at 200 amps of service. Really shouldn't be a problem. All right, so 1 through 8. Let's check this out. Gauges, that doesn't pull crap. Injectors aren't much. Ignition, this is actually like almost 40 amps worth of current. VVT doesn't matter. Wideband doesn't matter. Fan, this is 15 amps. Water pump, that's probably 10 amps. So far we've done 7 things, and we've got a 40, a 15, so we're at 55, another 10, so that's 65 amps. And then we got this. So this is the 13.8 volt supply. This takes battery voltage and steps it down to 13.8. which is what runs 9, 10, 11, and 12, which is this one. So essentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This switch, power comes out of this switch, so it goes from like here to here, comes out of the switch and loops and hits this. But the problem is, that means all the load from all of these gets put on this switch. So let's go look at 9, 10, 11, and 12. Gauges, that's probably not much. Running lights, that's actually not much either, but it's something. That might be like an amp. Headlights, they're 55 watt headlights, so you're looking at roughly 4.5, maybe 9 amps for both. So these two are probably 10 amps total. Warning system, I don't know, maybe an amp. So you're looking at like maybe an amp, and then 10 amps, so 12 amps. So you got another 12 amps on here. So what did we say we were at? I don't remember. I want to say like 65 or something. I don't remember. 40, 55, 65 plus, 12. So we're right at the 80 amp limit. So it's like, okay, is that a problem? Technically it's okay. Man, maybe it is. But let's look at the other side. So this one's got 8 as well. ECU, nothing. Trans brake, nothing. Engine fan manual, that's 15 amps. Although usually it's going to be in auto mode, this isn't going to do anything. Spare starter button. Now starter button appears to pull 40 amps. I'm not sure if that's really true because I don't have the big wire on the starter hooked up. So I'm not sure if like when the main wire's hooked up, maybe this number goes down. But let's just say that's 40. But that's not a continuous load. That's an intermittent load. So that means most of the time this is not going to be true. And the only thing over here that pulls anything is the fan in manual mode, which is normally not on. So essentially, you're going to have like an amp. These are spares. They're not being used. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I hope you see the point. We're probably going to have like 5 amps coming off here, and we're going to have like 75 amps coming off of there. So these aren't very balanced very well. So we're going to think about that. We've already run the wires for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, and 5. 3 is not connected. So 1, 2, 3 is not connected. That's ignition. And then we did VVT and wideband. So we haven't hooked our high power stuff up yet. So we've got time to change this. We're going to knock off for the night because it's getting late. We ended up having a delay. So where my shop is, there's like a U-Haul place over there. Some guy got his truck stuck in the mud. So he came over here, scared the crap out of me. But anyway, he came over here and his truck was stuck and his family's in it. So I've got this old Outback. It's a good car. I need to sell it. I don't use this thing. It's a great car. But anyway, it's all-wheel drive. It's turbocharged. I found a strap I didn't know I had, and we pulled him right out. So he's on his way. But that gave a little bump in our time frame. So that slowed us down a little, but no big deal. So anyway, luckily we found this imbalance in the current. We're going to look at that and think about what we should do about it. And we'll come back tomorrow and try to get some more progress made. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you got any questions or comments, leave them below. Love to hear you guys. I always appreciate reading those. And anyway, till next time, y'all take it easy.